Good afternoon, everyone. This is the regular meeting for the Community Development Commission, and today is Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. Seeing a quorum, or do you want to take roll call? Yeah. Would you mind taking roll call, Madam Secretary?
Commissioner Padilla,
Here.
Commissioner Rios, Commissioner Gallegos,
Here.
Commissioner Ceja Villa,
Here.
Commissioner Wilhelm, Commissioner Ship,
Present.
Commissioner Adame. We have quorum, thank you.
Okay, seeing quorum, this meeting is officially called to an order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, start, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, members of the public might address the Community Development Commission regarding any non-agenda items within the subject of matter jurisdiction of the committee. No action might be taken on non-agenda items unless it's authorized by law. Do we have any comments from the public? Okay. At this time, we're going to move to our consent calendar. This is a time for the commission to consider matters under the consent calendar, including items 1 and 2. Do I have a motion to consider items 1 and 2?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I'll second your motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, matter is approved by unanimous consent. And now we're going to be moving to our business calendar. We have one public hearing item number 3. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the time and place for the public hearing of the Community Development Commission of the City of Santa Ana. Approve the fiscal year 2025-2029 5-year consolidated plan, fiscal year 2025-2026 annual action plan, and budgets for the Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnership Grant, and Emergency Solution Grant, and authorize submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Receive and file the fiscal year 2025-2029 Regional Assessment of Fair Housing published in the OC Register, La Opinión, and Norm Viet on April 28, 2025. Will staff report on the matter?
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Chair. And we actually have our newest commissioner, Commissioner Adame, here with us. And I was wondering if you would like to take a break so that our city clerk's office can come down, do a reading for him, and then we could restart the meeting with him joining the meeting.
Yes, of course. Welcome, Commissioner Adame. Do we have the city clerk's office coming down? Okay, yeah, we can take a break.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Of course, yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm all right. I'm still off. No worries. Like happens. I'm gonna sit top of the clock. Yeah. 4:30.
That's great. No, I'm so glad. Yeah.
Commissioner Adame, on page 112, I know you read the entire. No, I'm kidding.
Madam Chair, I think we're ready.
Thank you. And welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Okay, so the staff will report on the matter for the public hearing.
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Chair, and welcome to our new Commissioner Adame. And I'd like to invite our Housing Programs Coordinator, David Flores, to give our presentation today.
Hello, good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. So today we're going to be doing a presentation on the fiscal year 25-29 consolidated plan and the annual action plan. We do have a presenter here with us, David Munoz, who is part of our consulting firm, MDG Associates, who will be going over the presentation and answering any of your questions. Thank you.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? Excellent. Well, as David mentioned, today we'll be discussing the 25 to 29 consolidated plan, as well as the 2025 through 2026 action plan. Since I know this is everybody's favorite topic at a 5 p.m. on a Wednesday, I'll try and keep it as brief as possible while still being informative. But of course, we are also available to answer any questions. So to give a little roadmap of where we're headed tonight, we'll start with a little bit of background to ground the conversation. Then we will review the engagement efforts and the results of that, followed by a discussion of that 5-year consolidated plan and action plan. And then we'll kind of conclude with what the next steps are. And then we'll leave some time at the end for any questions. So to start off with the background, why are we here? And it's really because the city receives funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, particularly the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG as it's commonly known as, Home Investment Partnerships, or HOME, and then the Emergency Solutions Grants, or ESG. And these programs were created to help cities like Santa Ana address a variety of housing and community development needs, particularly for residents that are low and moderate income. And oftentimes we'll get a question, well, what is low and moderate income? And for HUD's purposes, that is a household that is at or below 80% of AMI. And if you look in your nice bedtime story here, you will notice that in the document, we kind of highlight that approximately 60% of the households in Santa Ana would qualify as being low or moderate income. And I think it's important to highlight that because oftentimes, folks think, oh, well, it's only for low and moderate income residents, and therefore it's probably not going to be used to help me. Based on the percentages, over half of the population would be eligible to be assisted through these programs. And I think it speaks to the value and the impact that they can make. So within that context, and in order to stay in HUD's good graces, there's a few steps that you have to take, namely planning documents. And at this stage in the process, there's 3 main planning documents, which you also see in that graphic on this slide on the screen, which is the Citizen Participation Plan, the Consolidated Plan, which is the next 3 items on that circle, starting with the needs assessment, the market analysis, followed by the strategic plan, which is really your 5-year blueprint. And then the final, third and final document that's part of that is the action plan, which is your 1-year approach within that 5-year framework. And so to put it in the regulatory speak, this just really highlights where those regulations are coming from. So it's not that we wanted to be this voluminous, but rather this is really the process that HUD expects the city to kind of go through to make sure that that 5-year investment strategy is well grounded. So starting with the first 2 fields on the screen, it's really the Citizen Participation Plan, the Language Access Plan. just outlines how the city intends to engage the public. The consolidated plan, again, think of it like a 5-year investment strategy or a blueprint that becomes a framework that you can then use for how you're going to invest those various funding sources. And then finally is the annual action plan. So if you were to look at the consolidated plan, it can be a little bit overwhelming. And so one way to make that less overwhelming is to take it in bite-sized chunks. And that's precisely what the action plan is you don't have to solve all 5 years worth of problems in a day, right? So let's take it a year at a time. Let's figure out what we can do to take one step forward. And we'll do that 5 times. And hopefully by the end of those 5 years, we've achieved what we set out to do. So next, we'll go into the outreach and engagement methods. And I think this is one of the very unique and neat features of the consolidated plan process is that it really emphasizes the community engagement element. This really fosters a bottom-up approach rather than a strictly top-down directive. And it ensures that 5-year strategy and the annual action plan are truly being used to address the needs of your residents. And the needs of the residents here in Santa Ana may be slightly different than the needs of, let's say, a neighbor like Irvine. And through this community engagement process, you're able to kind of figure out, well, what is right for Santa Ana and which needs make sense to address with these particular set of funds. So to put it in context, we carried out a variety of engagement and outreach methods through a variety of mediums, which includes meetings, surveys, as well as one-on-one interviews and consultations with a variety of stakeholders. On this screen in particular, you'll notice that there was a total of 3 community meetings, 4 stakeholder meetings, and 6 neighborhood association meetings that we presented at. And that's a total of 13 meetings where we were able to engage with a variety of residents. And this is, a step in the right direction, especially compared to the last consolidated plan cycle, where I believe there was about 5 community meetings. And so we're always trying to push and take it a step further. And so this is really, I think, a result of those efforts. The other element was a community needs survey. And so this survey was available online, paper format, and available in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. And so for the next 6-ish slides, we'll go through the results of the surveys. The first 2 will be more about the demographics, whereas the last 4 will be about various thematic areas where these funds could be used. So if we're looking at the demographics of the respondents, we really like to highlight the fact that we made it in Spanish meant that we got at least a quarter of folks that responded to the Spanish survey. We're getting a good mix of folks that are renters as well as homeowners. So you're getting a variety of perspectives. And then in terms of age range, you're also getting a lot of engagement from folks that are between the ages of 25 to 43, which historically you don't see much of. You generally see it a little bit skewed towards folks that are in that 62 or older range. And so we feel that this is pretty representative of the folks that would be intended beneficiaries of these programs. Continuing on the demographics, in terms of school completion, the city does have a extremely educated population. And so a majority, a little bit over 50%, are folks that had graduate level education. And the one thing that, kind of offsets that, and I think speaks to the fact that these results are representative of the intended target population, is that income category. So approximately a little over 60% of the respondents earn less than $100,000 a year. And so if you recall, when we started this conversation, we said these programs are intended for folks that are low and moderate income, and about 60% of the households in the city are low and moderate income. This, I think, highlights that the results from this survey, 60% of which are from folks that earn less than 100,000. So we can feel that there is some sense of validity to the responses and their connection to the strategies that were proposed in terms of whether or not these funds could be used to benefit them. So the next slide is focused on the housing related questions that were in the survey. So the very first one on the top left, it was a question that asked residents to rate the availability and quality of affordable housing on 5 stars. So it's kind of like an Uber ride. How was a ride? Between 1 and 5 stars. On average, the city got a 2.5-star rating here. And this is just them rating the current quality and affordability of the housing stock that exists now. Then we asked them to rank if you could do anything related to housing with these funds, what would be your priority? And we did that across services, types of affordable housing, and then who that affordable housing should potentially be targeted towards. And I don't think it comes as much of a surprise that the 2 hot button issues were, assistance to purchase a home, as well as, rental assistance. You see that in pretty much the 2 housing services and affordable housing needs. And then when we ask folks to kind of dial in on a specific population or group, it wasn't even close that families with young children was really where they were hoping some of these funds could be invested towards. So moving on from housing towards public facilities and infrastructure improvements. Again, we had a rating system. Overall, did a little bit better, about an average rating of 3 stars in terms of the current accessibility and condition of the public facilities and infrastructure. And then when we asked folks to rank, well, what public facilities are most needed or what public infrastructure is most needed, you see those results here. And so in both of them, you do notice that folks are looking for, parks, recreational facilities to be able to take their families to, as well as, street and alley or sidewalk improvement projects in terms of infrastructure. And then a variety of centers or places where folks can gather in terms of public facilities. And finally, this is, I think, the third one, which is social services or public services. We again asked rating average of about 3 stars. And then in terms of the need, you'll notice once again, families with young children. And so you're starting to see some of these connections with other areas or thematic areas. If you recall on the housing slide, folks were really hoping for some investment in housing that could accommodate families with children. And you're also seeing that spill over to the types of services that are being provided around the city. And beyond that, there's obviously, even if it's not focused on the family, at least on the youth, the children, and mental health, workforce development, and crime prevention. And then finally is the availability and quality of job opportunities. Once again, ranked about average of 3 stars. And then we asked folks to rank what the most needed types of economic development type programs were. Employment opportunities ranked top. And then you had a variety of, small business or micro enterprise type development programs or training and technical assistance, and of course, affordable childcare. So based on all of that qualitative information that we got from the surveys, from the community meetings, and then combined with the quantitative data that's provided by HUD, whether it's the American Community Survey data, comprehensive housing affordability strategy data. We took all of that information and then developed a list of our priority needs. And obviously the first cut of those priority needs can be a list of 100 needs long. right? Unfortunately, the city's operating with some constraints, and those constraints are, how are we going to invest $28 million? And with $28 million, while it's a significant and meaningful amount, if you spread it out across 100 needs, you're starting to water down the level of impact that it could have potentially. So with that in mind, you had to start kind of focusing, where do these dollars make the most sense for the intended population group? And so based on that exercise, we landed on a total of 6 priority needs, which you'll see here, expanding and preserving the supply of affordable housing, increasing the access to and supply of both public services and homeless services, promoting economic opportunity, and then finally improving public facilities and infrastructure. Once those priority needs were identified, we set out measurable goals to be able to address those needs. And so that's what's really known as your strategic plan. And on this table on the screen, we've outlined the 6 goals that will address those 6 needs, accompanied by their, proposed investment strategy, which is the funding column, and then finally what the intended outcome over the 5-year period will be. So on this screen, you'll see those 6, and you'll notice how they're aligned with the needs that were in the previous one. So starting with affordable housing development, maintenance, and preservation, it addresses the first 2 needs of affordable housing preservation as well as development, followed by code enforcement, which is more geared towards the preservation of existing affordable housing. Then you have your public service programs, homeless services and facilities. That is to address the need for access to and supply of public services and homeless services. You've got your economic development programs to expand economic opportunities, public facilities and infrastructure improvements, and then finally is the program administration and fair housing. The split in terms of how you are investing each of these funding sources is described in that second column. With CDBG, you have the most amount of money, the most amount of flexibility. That's followed by home, less amount, and it's a little bit more restrictive as the name would infer. It's really just about preservation and expansion of affordable housing. And then finally, ESG is the smallest pot of money. And that's really intended to kind of focus on services and facilities that are dedicated towards the homeless population, as well as those that are at risk of becoming homeless. So as I had mentioned earlier, when you see that strategic plan or that 5-year strategy, it can be overwhelming. How are we going to do all of this? There's so much to do. And the way that HUD kind of helps grantees or cities like Santa Ana approach it is to break it down into a digestible piece. What can you do in 1 year? And so on this screen, we've listed out what activities or projects will be carried out from July 1st of this year through June 30th of next year, and their respective funding amounts. So within CDBG, you can see how flexible that program is. It ranges from code enforcement, economic development, public services, housing, economic development, and capital improvements in public facilities. Once you get into ESG, again, really narrow focus. It's on the homeless activities. And then home is, again, affordable housing. And so that is the 1-year approach within the 5-year framework. As of May 14th of this year, these funding amounts reflect the actual allocation, which was when HUD officially released the amounts that the city would be awarded for the upcoming 25-26 program year. And finally is next steps. So the next steps are to conclude the 30-day public review and comment period, which I believe runs through this Friday. And then you'll have your second public hearing beyond just this one, which I believe is scheduled for June 3rd. And at that public hearing, it will be an opportunity for residents, stakeholders to provide any additional comments or feedback, and then for the council to decide whether or not the proposed action plan and strategy is appropriate to meet the needs of the residents, or if there needs to be any modifications at that time. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Now we're gonna move on with the questions from the commissioners.
Yeah, I'll start. So a couple of quick questions. First, on the survey that you did, how many people completed the survey total?
101.
101.
And it was open for 2 months. Published via newspapers,
Yeah.
listservs, posted on various public facility websites with QR codes to try and make it as easy for folks to give a response. And the unfortunate part was it was also an election cycle. And so both of the survey and all of the election stuff going on at the same time, I think there was a little bit of fatigue potentially, especially we ran it from October through December. So before the election happened, but there's a lot of stuff that was happening at that time, unfortunately.
And we also did a stakeholder survey as well for businesses and nonprofits throughout the community, and we received 40 additional responses under that survey.
And my next question, I noticed when you mentioned on the language, so there were no Vietnamese completion. Wow.
That is correct.
Okay. There was one more. Go move on, and if it comes back to me, I'll ask.
And relative to just that last comment, I would note that the survey that was made available from October to December was in Vietnamese as well. So English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. So it was available in Vietnamese.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions? Yes.
I just am curious if you mentioned you had 13 homeowners associations.
6. I think it was a total of 13 meetings when you combine the community meetings, stakeholder meetings, and then the neighborhood association meetings.
Thank you.
That reminds me of my next question. So on the neighborhood association meetings, how was it determined which ones you were targeted, or did they invite you? How was that decided?
So I believe part of the decision calculus there was location and to try and spread out as much as possible while also overlapping low and moderate income areas. So while it would still be beneficial to potentially go to the higher income neighborhoods, because they're not the intended beneficiaries, we wanted to make sure that the responses that we did get were from folks that could provide responses and information about what their needs were so that we could effectively target these resources.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay. Well, thank you for your presentation. And I did see an increase on those meetings. I believe you have 134 participants on those meetings. So remembering from previous years, I think we're getting better. Santa Ana, it's really hard to, I really tried with the budget survey. I gave it to all my clients and I don't think they fill it up, so. So no more questions? Are we good? I do have a question. I want to take, are you going to be sending us this presentation or how can we get a copy, David? Of this presentation that we just had?
We can send you a copy of it.
Yes, I just want to go over the monies that you allocated for each program, like the economic development and the administration funding, the housing and all that.
Great.
I would like to see it.
Yeah, and I do want to make a correction. The slide had we've been at this
Yes.
document for months now, and there's been multiple changes
Uh-huh.
or edits. There was a recent edit that happened that's not reflected in the presentation. So economic development activity for the annual plan was funded at $50,000 $50,000. It went up to 100,000.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yes,
Because I've seen a
and,
lot of programs coming up in that department, and I'm like, it seems kind of low for what we're doing there,
Yeah.
which
And-
I'm happy to.
And we reduced the money from another activity as well, which is the housing, down payment assistance, but everything balances out. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
I appreciate that. Okay, so no more comments? Okay, well, thank you so much for your presentation. That means that you did great. We understand everything. Okay, so do we have a motion to approve item 3?
Motion to approve.
Okay, second,
Second.
thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Great. So this matter is approved by unanimous consent. So at this time, we'd like to hear from the public. But I don't see any speakers. Do we have any? Okay. So no written communication either? Okay. So any more questions in regards to the public hearing from my commissioners or staff? We're good? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. And now we're gonna go to the closing comments for our commissioners. So do we have any closing comments on this meeting? Claudio, I'll start with you. Do you have comments?
Want to welcome the new commissioner. Welcome aboard. We look forward to working with you in the future. So wanted to give you an official welcome.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ship?
Welcome and great job on staff putting this together. It's a lot of paperwork. Great presentation and thanks on the presentation.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Sejavi?
Well, thank you, staff, and welcome.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, staff, for the great presentation. And David, thank you. I really like to see more into the economic development, and I think it's the first year that I see more allocation into that department. And not only that, I think with the new additions that we have in on the staff on economic development, I've been seeing a lot of movement. I'm getting the newsletter, Mike. I love it. And I've been hearing really good comments about it. So I'm very excited to see some moving things. I do hear out there that there's a lot of people interested in to start doing business in Santa Ana. I myself have been helping a couple, and I have to say that I'm happy with the results. Business license is getting better. Plan and checking occupational license is getting super fast now. We don't have to wait 8 months. So I'm very excited to see that. Thank you so much for improving in that department. And thank you for the presentation. And with that, I think congratulations, Commissioner, and welcome. Welcome to the tribe. I hope you enjoy being a commissioner here. You came into our biggest meeting, so right on time. With that, this meeting is adjourned. Oh, you have any comments? Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Madam Chairman and fellow commissioners, it's both a pleasure and an honor to get to meet you and looking forward to working with you all. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Do we have any comments on staff?
Oh, sure, yeah. So just 3 quick items. Thank you so much to MDG and to our staff for the tremendous work on the con plan and annual action plan and the assessment of fair housing. This is the most outreach that we've ever conducted, 3 times as much outreach as we conducted 5 years ago. And one thing to really note for David is that he led a regional assessment of fair housing on behalf of every city in Orange County that receives these funds, including the county. So it was a regional process that we went above and beyond to lead on behalf of the county. So congratulations to him on the completion of that process. With that, I don't have any further comments, Mike.
No, just want to welcome the new commissioner. He comes with a wealth of knowledge, 12 years on the personnel board. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And, a lot of years That's a tough board. It's like serving on a jury. When you get pulled on, you've got to be there every night, I used to serve as a secretary to that board 30 years ago. And we would pay for a transcriber, but then to get the notes, you'd have to pay another $800. So they would make me and other people go and take furious notes. So when I heard you did 12 years on the personnel board, God bless you. So welcome to the Community Development Commission. I hope you enjoy it, and you got a great group of people you're working with here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, David.
Yeah, just one last comment. I just want to let everybody know that this item is going to council on June 3rd. So I highly recommend that you speak to your council members and inform them of this meeting and the recommended actions so they're well informed before the meeting on June 3rd. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you. Okay, so if I don't see any more comments, this meeting is adjourned. And our next regular meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 25th at 4:30 p.m.